Hello and welcome to today's update. Today is 19th of September. You're looking at hourly chart of SPY on the top and HYG on the bottom. We're tracking both of them just to see how they're performing relative to each other. So SPY on Friday hit the bottom of the channel and it's been recovering. You can see right here. And it's now coming up to fill the gap, which is around 389. So that would be first area of resistance. Beyond that, the resistance would be at the middle of this channel. You can see there was some interaction at the midpoint of the channel on several occasions. So that would be the next level of resistance. If it's able to get through here, then the top of the channel gets exposed. Even if it goes up to the top of the channel, it would still be making lower high, but at least it would be able to show some positive activity, because you can see that it's been spending a lot of time on the lower half of this channel. So if it's able to get back above the midpoint and spend some time, so that I think would be a positive sign. And it's also kind of forming like a base here and another base here. So we'll see how that plays out in coming sessions. Now down here I have HYG, which has a similar pattern to HYG. It also has a downward slope, but generally these two move in tandem, but there are times when they don't, and that creates a divergence. So here's an example of one divergence. We see HYG make a higher low, but SPY made a lower low, and that's a positive divergence. And after that, we see there was a big rally in the market, a decent rally in both HYG and SPY. I'm now trying to see similar divergence. I mean, you could call it, there is some kind of divergence. You can see that definitely HYG is acting better, because you can see that HYG has already gone above the middle of this trading channel, but SPY is well below that. So you can see that HYG basically represents the bond market, SPY represents the stock market. So when the bond market shows strength, typically what you see is that the equity markets follow and catch up. So given the fact that I'm seeing some strength in HYG, I am looking for SPY to sort of catch up and at least move up further. So this relationship is quite important because they provide a clue as to whether or not there is any kind of reversal coming. But at the moment, what I see is strength in the bond market, HYG. So I'm expecting perhaps the equity market is gonna follow, and that's basically what we've been seeing, since Friday's low. You can see that on Friday it has hit the bottom of the channel. You can see that HYG hasn't hit the bottom of the channel, so you can clearly see there is strength in the bond market as opposed to the equity market. If we look at the daily chart of SPY, so this is the daily chart. The daily chart doesn't look all that great. So I've got this channel drawn up here. The top of the channel has been an area of resistance. We see that resistance here, resistance here. It used to be support before, support here. There was support right here, and then the support was breached. So this top of the line, top of the channel is quite important, and then the bottom of the channel you have the previous low, and the middle of the channel is also an important area. You can see right here it spent a lot of time on the top of the channel. In here too, it spent a lot of the time on the top of the channel, and then it fell below. Like when it fell below, it went all the way down here. Right now we are in the second half. So what we would like to see ideally is recover and get back within the the top half of the channel. It's still some ways off, so that's why the picture is still a little bit negative. But we've got Fed meeting coming up on Wednesday. They will announce a rate increase. Market definitely is going to react after the announcement, and then there will be a there will be a briefing by Fed Chairman Powell. Although I'm not expecting any bullish comments from Fed Chairman Powell, but the market will react one way or the other. So if the reaction is positive, then we could see SPY get back above the midpoint and into the top half of the zone. But if the reaction is negative, then this bottom of the previous low is very much on the table. So there's a lot at stake on Wednesday. We'll see how things play out. But overall, at the moment, it doesn't look all that bullish. But that could change if the reaction to the reaction is positive after the Fed announcement. We'll see how that plays out in coming sessions. So that's SPY. Moving on to QQQ, first the hourly. So you can see that it's been recovering since Friday's low. It has now filled the gap here. So the next area would be this midpoint. You can see that the midpoint acted as a resistance several times previously. So this level is going to be quite important. If it's able to get through this level, then obviously the top of the channel will be very much in play. This level would be at the moment, depending upon when it reaches, is around 305-ish. But even if it reaches the top of the channel, it still is going to make a lower high. So until and unless QQQ is able to get above this level, which is around 314, the sequence of lower high will continue, because you can see that it's been making a series of lower highs. So that's going to continue. But we'll see first whether or not it's able to get through the middle of the channel. Then we would expect it to move to the top of the channel. The support remains the bottom of the channel. As you can see, it's a downward sloping channel, so which means that it can continue to slide down and make lower lows. But on Wednesday we could see some reaction following the Fed announcement, and we'll see how the market reacts. The daily chart of QQQ is looking a little bit better than SPY. I have this channel right here. It had fallen below the middle of the channel, but today it managed to get back above it. So this is definitely a positive sign, because you can see that it spent quite a bit of time on the top of the on the top half of the channel. So right now it's now closed just above. So it needs to stay above and kind of form a base here. Maybe it can then challenge the top of the channel again. You can see it got rejected once right here recently. So this top of the channel is going to be an important area to get through, because you can see there has been a number of interaction at this level. So we'll see how things play out in the next few days. Looking at the 2-year right now, 2-year continues to move higher. It was up another 7 ticks to close at 3.94. It's heading towards the 4% range. So this is obviously what's keeping this equity market under pressure, because the interest rates is now heading up towards the 4% level. That's a lot of interest rate. It used to be near zero about a year ago, and it's now approaching 4%. So that's a lot. And if you look at the 10-year, the 10-year actually traded just above 3.5% today, and that's why the equity markets were weak in the morning. The futures were down over 150 points, and then when the cash market opened, they were all under pressure, because the 10-year yield was just over 3.5%. It closed at 3.49, so it's still at the previous high. I think if it goes above 3.5%, it could, make the markets, the traders nervous, because that would mean that it's making a new high. 10-year is an important, level. 10 years is quite important, and 3.5%, the previous high. If it gets to that, that could put downside pressure on stocks. So we'll see how 10-year yield reacts following the Fed announcement. Looking at VIX, so I've got a channel right here. So you can see that it's been struggling to overcome the middle of this channel on a closing basis. It's tested that level several times, but hasn't been able to close. So we'll see whether or not it can get above that level. If it gets above that level, then maybe it can move up towards the 30. You can see that it has gone to 30, 35 on a number of times previously. So this is an important level. If it gets above it, it means that it has that it wants to go higher. But there is also this uptrend line. If it falls below this, that would be showing weakness. So we'll see how VIX plays out in coming days following the Fed announcement. Gold. So this is the weekly chart of gold. It's at the bottom of the channel right here. So it's showing some buying demand at the bottom of this channel around 1650. If I look at the daily chart, you can see that there's some purchases going on at the bottom of this channel. Now near-term resistance is obviously around 1700 and then around 1750. So we'll see how gold reacts to following the Fed announcement. If we look at the oil, overall the oil market is on a downtrend, but there is support around 85 right here. So you can see right here there is support. So we'll see whether or not oil reacts to can bounce up this level. There is going to be resistance at the top of this channel. If it's able to get through this channel, then resistance would be around 97. But overall, it's in a downtrend and trading within this channel. If we now look at some of the individual stocks and see how they've done. So this is Apple. This is the hourly chart of Apple. You can see that since it reached the lower end of the channel right here on Friday, it's been moving higher, and it closed right at the middle of this channel. Because you can see that previously when it came to the middle of this channel, there was rejection right here, right here. So this middle of the channel is going to be an important level. If Apple is able to get through, then it exposes the top of the channel, which right now is around 160-ish. So we'll see whether or not Apple can, Apple is it's an important tech stock. If Apple can show some leadership and push ahead, it can provide a lift to the overall tech sector, because the other tech sectors are frankly quite weak. If you look at Microsoft, you can see this is Microsoft. It doesn't look all that great. It's been sliding lower, along the bottom of this channel. It bounced, it managed to recover most of the losses today, but it doesn't look all that great. Resistance obviously would be at the midpoint of this channel. You can see resistance right here, resistance. So this is around 250 at the moment, and only if it gets to this level, then we can consider a possible move to the top of the channel. But overall, it's looking quite weak, and it's sliding down along the bottom of the channel. If we look at Tesla next, so Tesla is definitely much better than the other tech stocks. So we've got this channel right here. It spent a long time inside this channel, you can see that it spent quite a bit of time right here, and now it's spending quite a bit of time inside this channel. And beyond that, you've got this base right here. So there is the look of an inverted head and shoulder. But what Tesla needs to do is just close above. So we can see that it closed fractionally above this level. Definitely it is looking positive. If it can get through this top of this channel, then it exposes the previous high, which is around the intraday high is around 314, 315, so that area. But overall, the pattern is much more constructive for Tesla than say Apple or Microsoft or Google. If we look at the daily chart of Tesla, you can see that it's coming up to the top of this channel. It's going to then challenge the previous highs in mid-August. So this is looking much better, than other ones. If you look at Apple, so Apple managed to get back above this channel. You can see that it broke above this channel right here, but then it dipped below this on Friday. But today it managed to recover. It needs to stay above, this channel. But at least today was a very strong day. This is a bullish-looking candle, but it needs to get back above this level, 163, because that was the previous high. So if it's able to get above 163, it would then break this sequence of lower highs. Microsoft, if you look at the daily picture of Microsoft, clearly in a downtrend, and right at the mid-June level, managed to bounce today of the session lows, but it doesn't look all that it's not all that positive. If this level is breached, then the bottom of this channel gets exposed. So let's see whether it can bounce, and obviously the midpoint of the channel is going to act as a resistance. So once it's able to get through that, then we could consider the top of the channel. But there's quite a bit of work to do for Microsoft. If we look at Google on a daily basis, so Google is at the bottom of this channel. So it found support today. Now it needs to make a move from here, because if it breaks below, then this, then that would be quite negative, because it stayed inside this channel, which is about almost 20-point range. After spending a lot of time within a 20-point range, if it breaks below that, that could suggest that we could have potentially another 20-point drop to the downside. So the bulls need to step right in and push it higher. The midpoint would be the initial area of resistance, because you can see this is where the most recent selling started. So that would be around 113-ish, but it needs to hold this level. This is a very, very important level. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video.